Hey there, it's Kelly O'Connell, author and attorney with Knockout Radio, and pretty damn late here, but hope you're doing well. And been a lot of rain in the West, a lot of flooding. There was a recent rooftop rescue in Arizona from the floods, and I guess Afghanistan's not the only place where they're saving people out for rooftops, but anyway, I'm going to get into a brief article tonight that is going to be published in Canada Free Press tomorrow. Liberal political cult, mystic Marxism lulls followers into grave errors like Kabul, grave errors, and a little subheading, Biden's Afghan disaster exposes exquisite weaknesses of Neo-Socialist delusions. Don't let the vocabulary throw you off. It's about the idea that as long as a person has leftist, socialist, Marxist, progressive views, that everything's going to work out. And that is at the heart of the disaster that's occurring right now in the United States, and now it's been exported to the Middle East more than once. First, through giving money to Iran, which was used to buy missiles to send to Hamas, and Hamas spent days blowing up Iran with it, and now in Afghanistan. All right. Some real ironies here. Woke military equals a disaster. Understand that the U.S. military was more distracted the last few months by woke politics than saving our Afghanistan allies from Taliban murderers. Believe it or not. It did happen. So what's up with that? Well, you heard the stories in the military, how they were, it's no longer just gays in the military, it's trans in the military. And the problem that a lot of people have is that if you're spending time working on social justice, what about the main mission of protecting America and our allies and fighting wars and winning wars? And so what happened in Afghanistan, according to whatever reason you think, is we abdicated. We left in the middle of the night. We didn't get this. Now, Biden wants to tell you that the way that he handled this was the best way possible. Kind of reminded me of Voltaire's Candide, that we live in the best of all possible worlds. But why does doing it the best way possible equal sneaking out? Why would that be true? I mean, you'd have to think that Biden's a very special person, that he could do whatever he wanted and it'll still work out. It'll still be the best. You just get somebody to cover up behind you to mop up and to make the best out of it, you know? So that is the whole problem in general that the left has, is that somehow through Marxism they believe that there's this inevitable direction in history that everything is traveling, and that no matter what, the outcome is going to be evolution. It's going to be social evolution, political evolution, human evolution, and we're going to go higher and higher and higher up. And I think that that is what is happening in the United States with AOC and the quad, whatever it's called, of those far left girls, one of which is actually a Muslim, whatever her name is, Talib or whatever. So everywhere in BidenWorld, a sense of unreality clings like a deadly dust, suffocating all critical thinking. And remember, you're not allowed to challenge these people. You're not allowed to disagree with woke or BLM, Black Lives Matter. Or even though Black Lives Matter was just exposed as being just communists, Marxists, because they supported the government in Cuba, even though there's 1 million black people living in Cuba that are getting tortured and just, treated like garbage every day. So Joe Biden, when saying he wouldn't change anything, even though tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are likely to die from the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan, but still his decision couldn't be better. And it left our allies and employees, our former employees, just waiting to die, waiting to have the Taliban come to their house. And they say they're going from house to house now, trying to find out who fought for the Afghani army against the Taliban, because the Taliban claims to have total authority there under God. And the Afghanis themselves, think about this, understood the future better than Biden by clinging to that military cargo ship that they said was actually had 600 Afghanis inside of it, clinging to the outside. And even when the plane went up in the air, they're hanging on. And I think what happened is they knew that they were going to die at that point. Of course they did. They didn't think they'd survive a flight tens of thousands of feet in the air where it's, sub-zero temperatures, just hanging by their hands. I think that they were symbolically committing suicide because they realized these planes, as they flew away, symbolized the last bit of freedom in Afghanistan, which is not really a country, it's a bunch of tribes. So they're in the air thousands of feet and they plummet to their death. And likewise, socialism lures naive followers to their deaths by an unthinking political cult. And it's happened in China, it happened in Russia, and hundreds of millions of people were killed by the communists just because they could not deal with being in leadership. They had to go around killing people to keep the terror going. And so in the minds of the left, socialism equals success. And an example is they're going to leave the borders open and somehow it's going to lead to success. And so you've got millions of people coming across the border, and a significant number are sick and will infect Americans, and some of those Americans will die, as you know, with COVID. And they love downtrodden foreigners who cross the border, except for Cubans who were sent back home. And so think about this. What is the number one goal of American leftists now? It's to support trans, but also feminist, right? And socialism and everything. Well, now Kabul, Afghanistan, is filled with young feminists indoctrinated into the concept of world justice, women's rights, and the truth of leftism. And yet, my friends, think about this. I can tell you from having studied Sharia law for many years, there are no women's rights in Islam. So how well will these unctuous ladies, and unctuous just kind of means self-righteous in kind of a false way, how will these unctuous ladies fare under traditional Islam? Well, prepare for hijabs, veils, house arrests, underage marriages, sex slavery, rapes, and death. They're already going to houses and taking away young girls and taking them away to rape them. Now, don't forget that slavery has never been made illegal in Islam. And a concubine or a woman kept for sexual purposes, a sex slave, is not illegal either. So ask yourself, does God direct people to live that way? Well, my friends, Marxism is deluded, and American Marxists have long labored under the strange, deluded worldview that their labors will inevitably move the U.S. towards socialism. Now, don't forget, sanctious Obama loved Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." This well illustrates the left's fixation on a world where justice and success inevitably follow woke policies. Now, don't forget, Martin Luther King was a Christian. He believed God was moving the universe in that direction. But Obama, did he go to church? No. Why not? I believe it's because he's not a Christian. He's an atheist. So think about that. You are a person who believes that the arc of the universe is headed towards justice. Why? If the general drift of this thinking is natural law, which it clearly is, it still does not have any guidance of God. It's bereft of aid in a godless world where all bets are off. In fact, this kind of moralism is redolent. It smells of Hindu karma, a religious relic from primitive days. So, Marxism espouses a kind of mysticism where all their decisions succeed as if by magic, and that's what Obama represents to me. But I think in general this is where these guys get their thinking from. And take it to another level. The purposeful sabotage, and I'll talk about that here, socialist mixed ideas. With each successive generation of increasingly emboldened socialists like AOC, the cries for socialist policies and social justice grow louder. The Green New Deal is the pièce de résistance. It's the main dish of this magical thinking. And so the handover of Afghanistan also follows this logic. It exposes a further rift in leftist ethics. Think about this constant kind of contradiction with leftists. They want to have money, but they don't want to have capitalism. They want to have success, but they don't want people to have to work. And if you think about what's going on with the COVID pay right now, many people are still at home being paid by the government not to work, and they're staying at home because they're making more money than they were at their old jobs. So that's a doctrine. It's a right in the minds of socialists to be supported and not work. Now, if Biden succeeds in destroying America's investment in Afghanistan, think about this for a second. Does it not merely reveal Democrats' opposition to the military and their fight against the idea that we're a colonial usurper? I mean, who the hell are we to be over in Afghanistan? Further, another great way to diss Trump is by attacking his desire to withdraw, by turning it into a cruel circus. And so you've got a contradiction of ideas that means that they're always hobbled. They want to have money, they don't want to have capitalism. Well, you can't have both. No capitalism and money. Wealth comes from somewhere. And what kind of a life are you going to live if you don't believe in work? I mean, how is that going to pay off for you? So there has now been incalculable damage, and this is what I've been telling my friends or anybody who will listen. Joe Biden has destroyed his reputation, especially now getting up and saying that I meant to do this and it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do to abandon all your friends and allies and employees and let them be killed. Just very terrible. And these people are so self-righteous, and you might say, well, Kelly, all politicians are self-righteous. Yeah, but these guys take it to a new level. Nothing they do can be criticized. They shut down oil production here, and then we're getting into real high fuel. So instead of reopening the production here, you ask your enemies, or you ask the people in the Middle East, we demand you produce more oil. There's a complaint about the border in the left, Kamala Harris or Biden act like nothing can be done. All you have to do is restore what was there previously. And as a matter of fact, a judge, I think it was today, reinstated stay in Mexico policy. But the Biden administration is just going to ignore it like they did with the ban on COVID rent agreements, that you can't, kick somebody out because of COVID. So it's a strange effect of Marxism that the adherents, the believers, believe in the inevitable triumph of their ideas. This is the result of Marx copying Fred Hegel, in his theory that all history is an evolution towards a better world. But American leftists always assume their good intentions, even if they don't have any, even if they actually had any, will be rewarded by success. Capitalism and militarism will fall. And think of all the hatred that's been poured against us by our own people on these things. As the true belief of actual leftists will be blessed no matter what that means. But at least, in this instance, Joe Biden screwed up Afghanistan. He ruined his presidency in less than a year, and it has badly damaged the socialist cause, and now he needs to be put out to pasture. This guy is in an unsurvivable situation. Okay, so let me get you some Let me get you some weird news here. And one is about a boy who went crazy on a flight. And another one is a weird story about a baby that had its bones broken by a dog. All right, so a boy 13 years old duct taped on a plane after throwing a tantrum on his way to LA, and duct tape is the new way to restrain passengers. Flight attendants once again had to resort to duct tape to restrain an unruly passenger, a 13-year-old boy flying on American Airlines, as another family member punched a window, according to the airline. He reportedly tried to kick out a window. Now, if you really kicked out a window and you're way up there, stuff gets sucked out the window, right? And the teen threw a tantrum and fought with his mother on a trip from Maui to Los Angeles. So think about this. You're over the ocean and this kid goes haywire. And it was on an Airbus A321, which is a big plane, about an hour into the flight. So they probably didn't have an option to turn around. And so, but they did. The flight was diverted to Honolulu. The boy was taken into custody. And so it's also happened recently as well. Things are getting more and more out of control, and the crime rate is through the roof in America, and violence is through the roof, and killing of cops is done. And every day I look at the newspapers in Chicago, the headlines, and there was one yesterday. I don't know what it was, but it was something 37 people shot, 3 killed in Chicago. It's like that every single day. All right, here's another one. Family seeks answers after baby suffers broken bones when dog falls on him, August the 13th. And this is in the New York Post. A 5-month-old boy suffered multiple broken bones. Ooh! When the family dog jumped off a bed and landed on him, and his parents now suspect the tot may have a serious underlying medical problem. Theo Bonnick, living in Dover, England, rushed to the hospital, and early one morning, our dog jumped off the bed and landed on him. The grandmother said he was screaming, and so we took him to the hospital. He suffered fractures to his rib, his wrist, and they discovered that he has a bowed leg, and they now fear that he has a severe bone disorder, and he was jaundiced at 2 weeks old. So anyway, the kid might have a tough life ahead of him. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to resist the evil out there, and give me a thumbs up and join this podcast. Thank you, Kelly O'Connell, Knockout Radio. Ciao.